To speak more about the way this all played out, we're now joined in studio by our hockey insider, Darren Dreger. Dregs, we're all, I think, a little bit confused. On Sunday, it seems like the job was Kyle Dubas's if he wanted to come back as Leafs GM.
Yeah.
4 days later, he's told, nope, that's it. The offer's no longer on the table. You're gone. We're not all that surprised he's been fired, but the way it played out seemed rather bizarre, Dregs.
I agree. I mean, the seed of doubt was clearly planted at the Kyle Dubas media availability on Monday. We know that there were multiple conversations between Brendan Shanahan and Dubas's agent prior to Sunday, working out the parameters of what a contract extension would look like. Then Dubas comes out and says, well, I'm not really sure I still want to be an NHL general manager based on some of the pressures and the toll on his family, which everyone deeply respects. So now you fast forward to Thursday. The agent for Dubas reaches out to Brendan Shanahan and says, yes, Kyle is in. He wants to stay as general manager of the Leafs. And by the way, here's our contract offer. And we believe that the money was considerably more. There's likely some power that was attached to that made the Toronto Maple Leafs uncomfortable. So you go back to Monday, and then you fast forward to Thursday. And again, that seed of doubt planted on Monday gave Brendan Shanahan the opportunity to consider what the future looks like and maybe needing a bit more experience to manage it.
I want to ask you about that because when Kyle Dubas got this job, he was a first-time NHL general manager.
Yeah.
Shanahan wouldn't say who he was looking at just yet, said he wants to start the interviews right away, but he said he wants somebody with experience. Any thoughts on a candidate?
Well, look, I mean, there's a boatload of work that has to get done in Toronto, no doubt about that, and a lot of it is heavy lifting on the contract front. So, in terms of candidates, because Shanahan played the experience card, you have to look at Brad Treliving, recently left the Calgary Flames organization. Then you look at some other names. I think of Ray Shero and the years that he spent as an NHL general manager. Peter Chiarelli wants to get back into a GM office. Likewise, Marc Bergevin, who's employed now by the Los Angeles Kings. But I don't think you close the door entirely on management types who have experience but don't necessarily have general manager experience. So a name that I think should be considered is Scott Mellanby. Scott Mellanby has come real close on a number of occasions. Being an NHL general manager just hasn't crossed that line, but you look at his experience as a player and in management, and I think that he would get some consideration as well.
And now we have to wonder what happens to Kyle Dubas, because on Monday he said the decision was either the Leafs or nobody. Just go home and relax for a little while. What do you think happens with him now?
Well, I think it's a different set of circumstance today than it was on Monday. You're right. I mean, for Kyle Dubas to get to the point on Thursday where he was willing to, again, stay as general manager of the Maple Leafs, obviously he had time to talk with his wife, talk with his family, and get everybody on board and in a place where they were ready and willing to take on the added responsibility. Now he doesn't have a job. He's been let go by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I believe that Kyle Dubas will have plenty of opportunity. There's been lots of speculation over the last number of days about the possibility of Pittsburgh in some capacity, if not general manager, maybe president. The Fenway Group is looking for someone young, someone aggressive, who has some experience. So I don't think that Kyle Dubas is going to be unemployed for a whole lot longer.
And I don't think the job is going to be available in Toronto for very long because Shanny says they need to get somebody in there. Hockey insider Darren Dreger.